All right, I wanted to get into certain terminology that gets thrown around a lot in typology, things that I feel are important and get misused for varying reasons. Maybe it's just a lack of scientific understanding or just people being loose with language and things go all over. All right, starting with accuracy versus precision. Accuracy being more to do with TE, whereas precision has more to do with EI. Now, why is that? Where am I coming to this from? Let's take a look at this particular little graph. Move myself out of the way. Accuracy and precision, whether you're talking about this in a scientific lab like context, like a chemistry lab or something, or you're talking about it in terms of target practice, like you see here, bullseye with a target in the middle. Accuracy is about hitting the ball. You can do that with one shot. Boom, and you hit the bullseye. You're right on the money with your statement, with the exact factual information or whatever, right? It either is or it isn't on the bullseye. That's simple. It's either correct or it's incorrect. And you're pointing to the observable data and information. How do you know that you're accurate? Well, I hit the bullseye. There must be a target to hit in the first place. I have to establish what that target is. Boom, there it is. I was right on it. Might have only done it with one shot. Okay, accuracy. TE types tend to be more interested in the accuracy of the statements being made, of what people are doing or saying or whatever. And generally speaking, dislike broad sweeping statements, broad categorizations of things, especially when it appears to fly in the face of the accuracy. It goes against the well-known information that's out there. Okay, whether that's historical information, whether that's scientific information, whatever factual information, doesn't matter, right? This is part of the reason why a lot of high TE using types, okay, whether they be TE valuing or sometimes maybe just a TE demonstrative type, they can be pedantic, they can be annoying at times because they are the ones that interrupt people at the party and break up the mood because they're saying, well, the statements you're saying, I know why it's funny and you're having a good time. Actually, it's not really correct, not really accurate. This is how the thing actually works. This is what actually happened. Or these are instances that completely disprove that giant statement you just said there. It is inaccurate. They tend to do that a lot, right? They favor that a lot. Now, other side of this, precision. Precision is CI related. Why? Because precision is about consistency. Okay, it doesn't have to be accurate. It just has to be consistent. Notice here on the targets, especially this one right here on the right, notice this nice tight grouping of X's right here, right? Very nice. It's very consistent. This shooter, this experimenter is getting all of this stuff right on the same general spot pretty much. Very consistent. For TI, that's what you want, consistency. You build a structure, you build a model, a framework. It needs to be consistent. You define something like this, fine. You stay consistent to that definition. If you think all people with purple hair are insane, as Rusted typology would say, that okay, that's not very accurate, right? Are all purple people are purple people? Listen, people with purple hair, are they all actually insane? No, that's inaccurate. But as long as he's consistently sticking to that's his way of approaching. Okay, that's consistency, that's precision. Even if it's inaccurate, doesn't matter, right? So this, you fire 10 shots and you hit pretty much almost similar spot, you're consistent. We can work with this. Consistency is very important. It's easy to make an adjustment now and tell you to go up two to the left, or two to the right or whatever, and boom, and now you're on target. Right? We can make that adjustment. Now, your typology systems are all based on, or they should be based on precision, consistency. This is one of the strengths of socionics, is that it tends to be much more consistent and precise than many of your other typology systems that can kind of be all over the place. Now, that's the model itself. The typologist, the individual using the model, whether that's myself, somebody else, Galenko, World Socionics Society people, like whatever. As long as they have a consistency, they look at someone and they're consistent when they type people. They get 10 people, all those 10 people that they have typed, they think, okay, these 10 people are all SLEs in our opinion. Okay, and they all actually walk, talk, act, seem to think. All the patterns are there, and between the 10 of them, it's pretty clearly consistent. 10 of you are very similar. All right, so now we can see that you have precision, you have consistency in how you're going about typing. It might be wrong. Maybe they're not actually SLE. Maybe there's something else. But at least within your system and the way you're going about things, it's consistent. We can all begin to operate and make adjustments based on your thing. We can see this with, let's go ahead and call it arguments between, let's say, some of the types that Galenko does. He's typed certain people, SLE. Just throwing that out there. This is purely hypothetical. I'm not trying to throw anybody in the bus, just doing this for the purposes of education. All right, he might type, Galenko might type 30 people SLE. Maybe all 30 of them are wrong. Or wrong according to whom, right? Well, maybe according to World Socionics Society or somebody else, whatever. They kind of say, no, theirs aren't actually correct typing. They're all wrong. But at least he's consistent. We see a pattern that whenever he sees this kind of person, he thinks of them as an SLE. And what he thinks of as an SLE is what we would think of maybe as an LSI. Okay, we can work with that. Now we know that whenever Galenko sees someone he thinks is an SLE, it's probably an LSI. And that's fine. We can go back and forth now and dialogue with other schools when they're consistent in how they do things and how they type people, and we're consistent in how we type people. There's a precision there. We can use that to communicate. The time when things get just a mess, there's nothing you could do, is when people appear to be inconsistent. There's no precision there. They're all over the boards, right? Like this. This is or actually even worse. This is even worse here, but here, this is imprecise. There's no you're everywhere. You're all over the board. What are you going to do with that? How do I make an adjustment for you? How do I know that when you type someone SLE, that's our version of whatever this is? Right? Oh no. All right. Let me not get too carried away on this whole illustration. Point being, accuracy and precision are not the same thing. Understand where these terms are coming from. Okay. TE types in general, or TE valuing types, are very strong on TE in general, value accuracy. The precision doesn't necessarily have to be there, but they value accuracy. This works well for you're describing LIEs, SEEs, ESIs, LSEs, all these other TE types that really want things to be accurate. Is it correct? Is it accurate according to the facts and the information that we know of? If it is, okay, we'll stick with that. We don't necessarily need to be consistent about stuff. We don't necessarily need things to be precision, doing it again and again and again. It all has to have the same output, right? Not usually necessarily the focus for typing. The I users like consistency. All people with purple hair are insane and need lobotomies, okay? That's not accurate, but as long as you're sticking with that statement and you're consistent, if that's the way you view things, we could work with. We could at least make adjustments. Precision. All right. So anyway, moving on. Let's get into other things. Theoretical yield versus actual yield. Right? Basically, this is a discussion to illustrate the difference between theory versus application. Okay. Usually speaking, TI types, but especially when you start combining TI with a lot of intuition, a lot of abstraction. So you start throwing all the TINE, TINI, you start putting all these combinations together, and there's kind of like a who cares about the SE and TE and all that. A lot of these types tend to focus heavily on the theoretical. They love the theory, and sometimes they just keep going. LIIs tend to do this a lot. Galenko does this. You already have a system, a model, which is theoretical. The whole damn model is a theory, right? It's an abstraction of trying to create a framework of the phenomenon that we see in human behavior and thought. Right? It's already theoretical. Then you get certain types that come around and they're adding more theory and more theory, more theory and theory and theory. And at some point, the more application oriented people, the more what I call them almost concrete, they come around and they're like, okay, I mean, this is nice theory and you're making more theory, but where is the research? And I see statistics and I see some kind of data based on maybe observation. Show me a whole bunch of observational notes. Show me something in the real world that starts to substantiate all this theory that you're creating everywhere. What's one way you can do that? Well, show me interviews of people. Show me examples of individuals. Show them on video, whatever, and go, okay, look, here are 100 people that we have typed, that we have looked at, whatever. Notice what they're doing. Notice what they're saying. Notice their career track. Notice their life story. Notice what they're talking about, et cetera, et cetera. Notice the observation. We are all seeing this individual, what's happening. Notice these patterns that all these individuals have in common, and that is what we call this particular type. We're going to call all these people exhibiting the same pattern of thought and behavior. They're all LIEs. Okay, there's some observation there. There's some real world application or substance to go off. And then from there, we could even start building statistics, start building other kind of data, other empirical bits of information that we could all equally share. Right? It gets you away from theory. Now, another problem. The theory, people can get wrapped around the theory all day long, and they're just arguing and debating all day about the structure of the model, the structure of a definition. The definition doesn't perfectly capture this, or, oh, you define this thing this particular way, but that's not how I use it, or that's not how that guy over there did it. It's like, okay, now we're not understanding. Maybe we're not understanding this interface between what is theory on a piece of paper versus the application, what it really looks like in the real world. Just because it's written there and it says 3D, three-dimensional strength or whatever, doesn't mean that it's something you're going to necessarily always see it all over the place with somebody over here, right? Or four-dimensional, then here it is everywhere. It doesn't always work quite so neatly, not always a one-to-one. So I'm just showing you something here, call it a little representation. This is based out of chemistry. Let's assume that this here would be like information elements. We throw a bunch of information elements together. We just take a little TE and some NI, and then we throw some SE and FI in there. We slap it all together in some kind of a mixture, and something comes out. What comes out? This type, something we call a type. That's the product that comes out. And we call that product LIE. And we call that product SEE. Whatever, right? And then we say, oh, it's because this exact number of strength, this dimensionality of these whatever TI molecules combined with this exact amount of any molecule that combined with that exact amount of S, and it produced this exact amount of strength and capability and whatever. Right? Okay, that's all nice in theory. Show me examples of that in reality. Show me what that end product really looks like, because that's the empirical. That's the true thing. That's what we really care about. Models and paper is just paper. Who cares? You can say whatever theory you want, but if you don't have some kind of data that we could all empirically look at and debate on and discuss, then we don't have much, right? This here on screen is a theoretical yield calculation. You do it all on paper, you do the math, and in theory, you come out to a certain product, to an exacting product. Then you do the actual experiment, you do the actual mixture, and you get an actual yield, not theoretical yield. The theoretical yield may have stated that you're going to get 84% grams of a product or whatever. All right, but what did you actually get? Oh, we got 71%. Or actually, we did better than we thought. We got 96% somehow, right? It doesn't line up a lot, right? It doesn't always come out quite right, because in the real world, things are messy. Things are not a beautiful little map. It doesn't always work. You got to understand that difference. Theory versus application. In order to better facilitate your message, they get across to people, really communicate better. I implore a lot of the theorists to work on the applicational side, the empirical side. Give me data. Give me statistics. Give me evidence of stuff. Simplest and best, as I already mentioned, show me interviews. Show me your typings of biographical figures, celebrities, whatever. Show me your methods of how you're doing it, and then show me your consistency that this is what you're typing. Every time we see somebody who acts like this and does that, we call that this type. Okay, well, you might be wrong, but at least you're consistent. So we have something we can base ourselves on. It's a certain decision. All right, that works. Make sure that you understand what system you're playing with. Something that's going to destroy your precision is if you go all pan-Jungian and you start using 3 and 4 different systems at the same time. This is just something that people just can't resist doing. They're going to try to type someone, and then they're going to start employing definitions that come from BTI, or it comes from some Carl Jungian thing, or whatever, some weird place, not even socionic. Right? That's a problem, because now we're not speaking the same language anymore, and the precision is going to go right out the window. It's like you're speaking French when someone's trying to speak Chinese. We're just not speaking the same language. You have to understand what room did you walk into, be consistent, use the same structure that that school of thought follows. It's okay to know multiple systems, but don't mix and match them at the same time in the middle of a typing. Don't do that. If for nothing else, even if you think you're amazing at your typing skills, it's going to be confusing to everyone else listening to you, everyone else trying to talk to you. They don't understand what you're saying or where you're going with it, because you're mixing and matching systems. You're using different definitions, different structures to justify your typing or where you got to it. That doesn't work. One of the sore things or sore spots within typology community is the importance of consistency just through communication, just that we all understand how to work with the same damn system. If you walk into a typing session and it's a Socionics typing session, then do it the Socionics way. If you want to, you can do it another way, an MBTI way. You can do it a different way if you want later Okay, but be clear and say, hey, I'm doing it the Socionics way. This is what Socionics would say. Got it. Now, if I did the same typing in a Carl Jungian way or some other way, this is what I would do. Okay? Be very clear at the separation of what you're doing. Don't mix and match them. You're going to destroy precision, going to destroy communication, and cause confusion with everyone else around you in the community. They don't know what you're doing. And you're also likely to just destroy accuracy as well. Okay? So, okay, anyway, I've rambled on enough. Let me know what y'all think of this. Um, I like to put things in as clear-cut, concrete way as possible. I think that's one of the things I do well. So, what I was attempting to do, yeah, you let me know what you think. Yes, I'm aware audio and things kind of suck. I'm not playing with my best computer lately. Not, I got computer problems right now. So I'm kind of on the backup system. Hopefully this audio is better. I'm on it. What can I say? All right. All right. So enough ranting for me. On to the next.